Good morning. Wait a minute. What? Oh, just kidding. Hey, this is Steve Brewer. This is my wife, MacKenzie Brewer. This is Autism Parent Support Network. So let's just get this started and to give you a little backstory about us and kind of let you know why we decided to start this and get this going. We have two autistic children ourselves. Theus is 7 right now.
Yes.
Yes.
7.
And Loki is 5. We started our journey with this when Theus was about 4. We started getting some testing done for him. We started to notice things were a little different with him when he was about 2. Um, we
Like from the word go, he was a little bit.
No, it was pretty good in the beginning. It was honestly after we did them after the doctor's appointment and we went through that horrible fever is when we really started to notice his uh backwards progression, if you would say. Regression. He he talked a lot, and we had really, he was a normal 2-year-old boy, and then we had
He was crawling, would learn how to walk, and then a couple days later it was square one.
Started all over, and then so we were trying to figure out how to do it and what to do with it. We had no idea what at that time. We really hadn't had much knowledge in the autism and the things that come with it. And then
We've known people with autism,
but to raise an autistic child and to know an autistic child is two totally different aspects. A lot of people that that may know someone that has an autistic child, might not understand the full 24-hour what it's like, other than just their small interactions that they have with them at that time.
There's a big difference between spending an hour with somebody
absolutely
autistic than spending 24/7 with somebody that has autism.
Yeah.
And then times it by 2.
Yeah, it's we're one of the few types of parents that we have the luxury of getting to raise 2 wonderful autistic boys.
They're very eccentric.
Raising my boys. I look at parts of my family, and I have a niece that has a son and a daughter herself, and she looks at us and she says to us, I don't know how you guys do it. And we look at her and say the same exact thing, because for us, this is what we know as parenting. And so when her children come to us, we're not used to the bombardment of communication, because both of our children are non-communicative. So when you have a 4-year-old boy that comes up to you and is, why is the sun yellow? Why is the sky blue? Why are shoelaces in the holes in your shoes? What color is a mirror? Questions like that. I know it's really weird, isn't it? That was the best one. That was the one that got me really good too, was the, what color is a mirror? And I mean, how do you explain that to a child? So for us, that was that's a little more overwhelming than dealing with. It's very overstimulating, and it kind of gives you an aspect of, what it's like on the 2 different sides. And the other thing a lot of people don't realize is that, not every autism case is the same. And
no child is the same.
No child, every person is different. Absolutely. And like last night, I watched a video on YouTube, and I'd seen something come up with Bill Burr's, and I kind of like that guy a little bit, but I heard him make a rather rude comment about, well, what is autism? And just the way that he had said it. And he was doing an interview with a YouTuber. I don't remember what the guy's name was, but I believe the guy did the best way of answering that question to Bill Burr's for information that I've heard anybody explain it. And he said that autism is everything. Autism can be anything is tics. Some children don't speak. Some people fall into the OCD aspect of I have to touch my plate 25 times before I can put the food in my mouth, or I have to touch a door jamb 3 times before I can walk through it.
That was discussed yesterday as well at my appointment was
Yes.
autism has so many different factors of it. It's not just one thing, it's a combination of all these things that overstimulate the mind to the extent where it affects their sociability and communication. So yes, there's autism in a spectrum.
Well, and a lot of other things that come with autism is like right now, and you don't get like direct eye-to-eye contact. You don't get, with our children are non-communicative. Now, what that classifies as is they can't tell you they're hungry. They can't tell you they need to use the bathroom. They can't tell you when they hurt. They can't tell you they want to go outside. They can't.
They communicate with actions and gestures and noises. Like
Loki likes to, when he wants something, he'll come and grab your hand and guide you to wherever it is that he wants, and move your hand to what he wants. And if you grab what he doesn't want, then he'll push it away, and you have to kind of sit there and do the guess game and figure out exactly what it is that he wants. And I, for the longest time, I thought it would be hard, extremely hard to learn to communicate with someone that's non-communicative. But to be honest, I think we did a pretty good job in picking it up rather quickly. I guess maybe it's a little different when it's your own child.
Also throws us curveballs as well. With Loki's intelligence is beyond belief.
Yeah, his intelligence he's way beyond a 5-year-old in intelligence. I will tell you that.
He doesn't have the sociability aspect of it, but he taught, for prime example, he taught himself Spanish in a matter of 3 months.
I don't even think it was 3 months. They were only out of school for 9 weeks. So he taught himself Spanish in 9 weeks.
But Diaz went back to school before Loki did. And so there was about a 2 to 3 month time frame.
Okay. There. So yeah, it was a little more, but either end. So
he understands Spanish and likes to be communicated to in Spanish, but he'll answer you in English. But he listens better to requests in Spanish, and then way better than he does in English. Majority of the time, where you tell him to stop doing something 10 times in English, you tell him 2 or 3 times in Spanish, you get a quicker response.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely agree with that. So, and then, so let's go back to, we got his diagnosis, and then we wanted to do Loki's diagnosis, but we didn't want to have both of them done at the same time. We really felt that it would be, severely overwhelming for us to try and get that filled for both of them.
We were still on the fence on whether or not this was like
Loki was just having a learning disorder, or whether it was actually
kind of
an autism monkey do thing.
Because obviously his brother does have autism, and being around that all the time, was he just copying these same things that he was seeing and thinking this is the normal aspect of how he should be acting? Well, when we got him into pre-K with other children that weren't on the spectrum and didn't have any special needs, you start to notice the same way. So it was like, okay, this isn't a monkey see, monkey do situation, because he's still acting the same way he does at home as he does at school, to an extent anyways, because children always tend to act better outside of the home than they do when they get home.
Well, it's like this will eat hummus at school, but he won't eat it at home. I mean, there's lots of things that are it's about the way things are presented to them. I mean, autism is such a huge realm of information and just so much to take in. And part of the reason why we wanted to, start this, I mean, let's get the cat out of the bag on this one. That way it's done. So my big thing of when this started, when I decided and put my foot down and said enough was enough, we've been having some issues at our children's school when it comes to dietary needs and things along them lines, and just some staff not paying attention. Some, just some things along them lines. I'm not going to give direct stories. I'm sorry, I don't believe in kicking them fully out in front of the train. But
We're not gonna mention the
I'm not
school's
going to
name
mention the
or
school or the
anything like
names of the
that,
teachers or anything
because
like
the
that.
school has been really good about being more on top of it and making the corrections that are needed.
Oh,
and
absolutely,
definitely
absolutely.
understanding from a parent's perspective where we're coming from. Of when you have non-communicative little people, it is more imperative for the adults working with the children and the parents of these little people to communicate the best they can to make sure that our children's needs and wants are being met, and they're happy and they're being well taken care of.
Well, and the action of what happened that day at the school with my son Theus, actually set me on a really, really bad rabbit hole trip of my wife wanted to start a PTO. For those of you that don't know, it's basically a PTA with a lot less restrictions and things. So when we refer to a PTO, just understand it's a parent teacher organization is what we're speaking of. Instead of an association, it's an organization. Um, so I got into the rabbit hole of PTAs and PTOs, and come to find out in the state of Michigan, 97% of our schools in Michigan have a PTO or a PTA of some kind. The only schools in Michigan that don't have a PTA or a PTO of some kind are special needs schools. Now, call me a rabbit if you want, but I believe them are the places where that should be the most important. And the reason, while they're singled out, I have an extremely big problem with that, because the parents of children of special needs need to be able to communicate with other parents and the staff of special needs children. And I call this the broom and dustpan method. This is very notorious in Genesee County, where I live. A special needs school is a special needs school. They don't have things restricted by your special needs. So if you have a child with autism and you have another child with multiple sclerosis and you have a child that's cerebral palsy or a kid that has Down syndrome, they just broom all these kids together and put them in one facility. And if you, I believe we need to change that realm. I believe we need to curve around that, because in society today, and I see this a lot, and now that I'm a parent of a child of two children with special needs, I have a 20-year-old daughter as well, and she doesn't have special needs. Sorry, my nose is itching. And I totally see the difference, and I never thought of it with her the same as I do with the boys. It is different, and people tend to look at you different. People are very judgmental.
The whole life is affected.
The whole life is
having
affected.
special
Like,
needs children.
we did for parents with children of special needs, you lose a lot of the aspects of life of not just being able to do fun things with your kids, but you have to be smart about what you do or when you do it.
More aware of your surroundings, overstimulations and stuff. Like, we would love to take the kids to a water park. They would absolutely love this.
But my kids lick everything. And literally, I mean, he will pick up a phone and lick it. He will lick a window. He will lick a door handle. He'll get down on the ground and lick the concrete. I mean, I love him to death, but yes, this is what he does. Now, mind you, this is the same kid that will, pick up a handful of sand and dump it in his eyes and cry about it being in his eyes. And then you rinse his eyes out and he'll pick the sand right back up and put it right back in his eyes. And so, he also plays with his fecal. He's almost 8 years old, and yeah, we still have to worry about biscuit parties. That's in our life. This is what we call them. That's his way of, he plays with his poop. It's part of his sensory issue, and this hence part of the reasons why you have to be careful with what you do or when you do it or why, who you're with. Yeah, because some people's reactions can, if you have it can affect them. So if you have a bad reaction towards something, or it can affect how they process or do things.
A prime example of this is that we've had multiple different reactions in different atmospheres, or different environments, I should state, where we've had this incident happen. One was at a family getting together.
I was gonna say the Hercules and the poop flying all over the kitchen at Thanksgiving at your parents was.
Yes, it was Thanksgiving quite a few years ago.
And everybody else, most of the people are laughing. A couple of people were upset because they got poop in their shoes, but
for the most part, everybody was pretty understanding and making it not a horrific event, where we've also had other incidents.
Oh, their uncle. He pooped him good. He got poop on his. He just got poop on his finger and wiped it underneath his uncle's nose. I mean, literally, whoop, like this. And Uncle didn't have the greatest reactions. Kind of traumatized this, but what can you say? I mean, you just had shit wiped under your nose on your upper lip. I think I would be a little perturbed myself too. And I mean, reactions, you can't change people's reactions. Exactly. But when it comes to this, and this is why I call this the broom and dustpan method, is because this is what most of the schools across the country do, is they compile them together and then they put them in one program, and them children don't get specialized education based on what they are or where they are. They're just thrown into a pool of all special needs and kind of just dealt with on that aspect. And the way that I feel that
focusing on something that interests them, where they could greatly succeed in and stuff like that. They're more along the lines of, okay, we have to have sensory play, we have to have STEM play, we have to have a reward system and stuff like that, instead of Loki, for a prime example, is really into languages. He prefers to do schoolwork and learning stuff over tablet time and stuff like that, because he knows
we deal with that with the staff now. They want to stop him for lunch, and he's the type that'll pick up his lunch and go back to his desk and continue to do his work while eating. He doesn't want to take that break. Where Theus is the complete opposite. He would rather push the work off and not do it and just go and play in the sensory room, or do along the lines of what makes him happy, or STEM out.
Succeeds very well. He does stuff to our computer that I don't even know how to fix.
Absolutely.
And I'm not like a real big techie or anything like that, but I know the basics of how to fix certain things. But Theus does some things to the computer where it's like, dude, how did you change all the settings? Why is the computer talking to me? Like, what is it's narrating everything, every action?
Oh, is that how that got started on the computer?
Yes.
Oh, I thought that was something you did.
Oh, that's our on the computer, where it's narrating every action that you take, which is a good thing, but it's quite annoying when you don't need that aspect on the computer. But for them to not take realization into, he could do computer programming. He knows how to get into this.
For sure, and that's a thing later down the life.
On that instead of the other things that he has no interest.
Well, see, and that's where I'm trying to get. This is what I'm trying to get to, is that I think that children with special needs, if you want society to act better, and learning how to not have I want to say the gawking effect, basically, if you don't want people to sit there and moogle you, and you don't want to have a million moogles in a parking lot towards 3 children that have no idea why everybody's staring at them. Education of this definitely needs to be more, because like I was saying, you have Bill Burrs, who's made a derogatory questionary comment. It was derogatory towards autism and the way they, and that pisses me off. But the fact that he at least had the balls to ask what autism was immediately afterwards doing that, I kind of give him props for asking, but the beforehand was is like that.
exactly.
So I mean,
that
and
category and that stereotype.
autism is in 3 categories. It's in the category 1, category 2, and category 3. Levels, categories, whatever you want to call it. They're level 1, and each one is just in it. And it's not to say that level 1 is the worst or level 1 is the best. That's not how that's rated. The way that they're rated, I looked this up last night. You were wrong.
Okay,
so
awesome.
Level 1 is based upon the things that they can do, how often they make eye contact, and how often they can associate with the things that are happening around them. Yeah. Same thing with level 2 and level 3. It's based on the amount of general socialization, but it's not just socialization. It's based upon when they side-by-side play, or when they pretend play, or when they, the way that they process the information, like with Loki and the lights, their
fundamental development.
Correct. And that's what classifies them in their categories. So that's what makes up their categories is their level of involvement, not the level of where they're at here. It's their level of involvement physically.
Right. Also, another thing as well, bringing that up, is that just because a child is diagnosed with a level 3 autistic non-communicative does not mean that they will always
be there.
3.
Correct.
We
Correct.
can make progress with therapies and just overall in general, just developing over time, because where their mental mentality at, our oldest is a good example of this. So he is physically 8, well, almost 8. He'll be 8 in October. But where his mental mentality is at is
3.5, 4.
About when he was diagnosed, was at a 24 to 36 month old.
He's at about 3 to 4 years right now.
We are definitely seeing the change to a 36 to a 48 month old, especially with the discovery of the word no. And yes, we all been there with toddlers and the terrible 2s and the terrible 3s. And yeah, we are now hitting that with Theus going on 8 and now just experiencing that 3 to 4 year old toddler stage with them.
So kind of with giving you guys that backstory, that's kind of a little bit about us. So basically what we decided to do is, I used to do podcasting. What do you say, 14, 15 years ago, we started doing that together. 14 or 15 years ago, being the 2 producers that we have right now, John Wilson and Steve Myers. We worked together about 15 years ago. And started doing this. Started with I think it was like Studio 1714, I think is what we were under at that time. And I got a hold of them, and I was like, I would like to start something again. I want to get the word out. I want to, our kids need help, and not just, I'm not saying our kids as in my kids. I'm saying our kids as a community, all of our kids, all children of special needs. And, I'm not going to lie, until I had a child of special needs, I used to be one of them dickheads. And I'll refer to myself as that. I was an absolute, just an asshole and rude. And I'm going to tell you, the having 2 children of special needs has completely changed me 110% of what a fucking asshole I was. And you won't hear me cuss very often, but I was rude, and I was, and I see that now, and just very insensitive. Correct. And it's made me kind of wake up to, wow, we need to change the way that this works, and we need to change the way that our organizations, deal with our children and how our children are handled. And we're going to touch a lot of sensitive issues on this podcast. I'm not going to lie to you. There's going to be a lot of tear days. There might be days where there's a lot of cussing. There might be days where there's a lot of happiness. But we're definitely going to touch issues that people don't want to talk about, because these are the problems that are making it harder and harder and harder every day for us to move forward with our children. I'm just gonna, as a quick stab, just to give you guys a little rundown of kind of what we mean by that. Our children require 60 hours of ABA therapy a month in order to keep their insurance to cover for ABA
This
therapy.
is not 60 hours per child. This is, oh wait,
Yes, it is.
It is 60 hours.
I don't know why you would argue with me about math. Coming from the guy that knows how many pennies it takes to put on a floor.
I know, that was a very interesting journey.
So we will just say that, for a standard word, I'm just going to use the word normalized. Don't take this out of a context or anything, please. But for a normalized adult to maintain their finances for their therapy, for talk therapy, it doesn't matter. Therapy is therapy, and it's classified as I researched this the other day. I'm telling you, I've been doing a lot of reading. So therapy by the state of Michigan, it doesn't matter if it's physical therapy, mental therapy, or therapy is therapy.
Okay.
It's all under its own umbrella.
And it's still under that same.
And it's still under that same effect.
That in order for an adult,
they're only required to do their 1 hour of therapy a month to keep their services. Now, why is it that a child of special needs is required to do 60? When they already go to school, on top of that, you figure the hour they go to school, 9 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's 45 hours a week. That's 105 hours a month you expect a special needs child to perform. And I think that's just too much. And I think our government needs to have some changing. We definitely I'm going to put together a march. We're going to nail the state capitol. We're going to give them a piece of our mind. I have a lot of stuff planned. I need to go forward with it, and I need to stop saying no. But it's been a minute. So basically that's where we're at. We just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a backstory of about, who we are and what we're about and what we have going on and where we plan to go forward with this and the things that, that we want to do. Definitely, I'm going to try and get some, some doctors in here for autism and have them do, some interviewers. I'm going to try and pull some of the staff from my son's school. I'm not going to lie. We really need to do that. We need to.
Questions, and we're just simply looking for answers and solutions, quite honestly, because
I don't even want answers at this point. I want solutions. I don't need someone to give me an answer to something that I know is wrong. I need them to fix the problem, not give me an answer and then kind of pacify it off as if it's not important, because that's what a lot of people do. Is that if you ask a question and they feel they answered the question, then that means it gets file cabineted and it goes to the back and it's not as important or relevant anymore. I don't want an answer. I want solution. Don't tell me yes and then turn around and ignore me. That's not how we want to do that. And that's not how you get things done. And we just need to change that. We need to change the way.
Have that mentality about us as well, that when we see something that doesn't sound right or doesn't seem to fit with what needs to be happening, we're the ones to question it as to.
I'm going to stand on the tallest mountain I can and I'm going to scream as loud as I can until someone hears me.
It's a Brewer thing.
It is a Brewer thing. It is a Brewer thing. That's for sure. I carry a loud voice and I'm a no bullshit kind of guy. You get raw emotions from me. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I say what I mean and I mean what I say. And I'm a man of my word. I stand behind what I say. I mean, don't say it if you're not going to do it. That's just all there is to it. If you can't keep your word, don't do it. Why are you laughing at me?
You kind of sounded like a Dr. Seuss book for me.
Oh my gosh. And he referred to me as, I do not want green eggs and ham. I do not want them, Sam. I am.
Okay, we have
I will not eat them here or there. I will not eat them
Parents
anywhere.
will definitely be able to relate for sure.
Will not eat them with a fox. I will not eat them with a box. I will not eat them, Sam. I am. I do not like them. It's been one of them days. So yeah, there we go. That's kind of got things going. And where are we at time wise? Oh, we're not doing too bad. So we're gonna get more stuff together. We're gonna do one of these. I'm believing. I think I would like to do these once a week on Fridays. As a start off. I mean, if I need to do more of them more often because there's more questions, more people want answers, more people want to get involved, I'm fine with that.
You can find us on Facebook, Autism Parent Support Network.
We have a website. We are at Autism Parent Support Network.org as well. The website it's up there. There's still some things that need to be done, and it's never finished. As well as anybody knows, it runs a business or something along them lines. We are fortunate enough parents that we're part owners of our own business. There's 2 other owners in our business, but we own our own business, so we have the ability of being able to make a little more time. But that's some other things that we're going to touch with, how states do things differently. Some states pay parents to stay home. Some states don't have anything to do with it. Some states allow you to do ABA at home and services somewhere else. Other states don't even allow ABA services, or for the parent what do you say? What is that? The word I'm looking for? How they don't allow you to do the respite care. Yes.
In general.
Correct.
Well, obviously, we're the parents. We're supposed to be taking care of them.
No, I understand it, but there's a difference between like respite from a parent and respite from someone else, is because we know your children don't always act the same with parents as they do when they're with other people. And if you want to get different results, then you need to offer different environment. And if you can't offer that different environment, then you're on that the wheel of repetitiveness, and you get stuck in that circle and you can't get out of it. And then you kind of run into what we ran into, and you put your hands in the air and you don't know what else you can do, and it makes it really complicated. Like, why don't they have restaurants that are for autism, for parents of children of special needs, period? Like, why is there not a restaurant out there for that? Right. Why is there not a movie theater out there for that?
That offers a play place.
But them are for.
Yeah, those are for.
Send an autistic kid that plays with this shit into one of those and tell me how that's going to go over.
I'm pretty sure that's a food violation.
Absolutely. And this is my point. These are the things that I'm getting to. Is that you want to desensitize the public. I don't think desensitize is the proper word for that. Integrate. I think if you would like to integrate, special needs into a standard society, then you need to start at a young age. That's what schooling's all about. Schooling isn't truly about education. Anybody that's an adult knows that. You're training your kid to work from the time they're a kid. They get up at a certain time, they go to a school, they do a job, they go home. You're training them for work, and then you act differently in school than you do when you're at home. And you have rules and guidelines that you have to follow when you're at school, and you're allowed to do your freedom at home. Well, I'm sorry, but that's structure for work environment. And anybody that works a normal job or has worked a normal job, and you look at education, that's the box that you're fitting in. So if you want to, to normalize, special needs, or get people to understand special. They need to integrate
system.
into the system.
Because Loki honestly wasn't treated any differently when he was in pre.
No, honestly, they enjoyed him more. When we took Theus through the pumpkin, when Theus went to school at the pumpkin patch, I have to tell you, Loki, sorry.
Yeah.
When Loki was in public patch, his teacher, Miss Megan, was, sorry. Damn, I did it. Was absolutely wonderful. She does. She was, awesome. I mean, just phenomenal woman, just absolutely phenomenal with children.
His whole classroom was absolutely
the kids were intrigued, and they knew there was something different with Loki than with the rest of them. And there was a couple of little boys and one of the little girls that would actually walk over and grab his hand and kind of guide. If he was doing something he wasn't supposed to, they would kind of, help guide him in a different direction and Miss Megan would tell us about these things that, that the other kids were actually really getting involved in trying to understand Loki's aspects of things and try and see things from his view. And if you want normalization to happen, you have to offer normalization.
And I mean, these are 4 and 5-year-olds.
Right. And so when you broom and dustpan them up, I love the terminology of that. I really do, because people don't. I really do use it a lot, and the school hates it.
Oh yeah, because they know
because they know I'm right. It's not that it's a negative. It's the truth. Just because it's the truth, just because it doesn't make it a negative. Just because it's the truth, it's not being negative. It's being realistic.
Being logical.
It's being logical. It's not. It doesn't make it negative. It just says that this is what the school sees it as negative because they know I'm right. They cast it in a bad shadow. That's right. They know what they're doing is wrong. Well, because they know that what they're doing is wrong. They know in order to normalize and socialize this, that it needs to be put on a much larger scale and opened up. And nobody is doing that. Nobody's pushing forward for that to be done.
And that's a whole nother realm too, because we tried to get Loki into a normalized school for kindergarten, and
they didn't want no part of it.
It wasn't necessarily no part of it. It was they were so understaffed that they didn't have the staffing to provide him with.
They wanted to put him into a classroom with 33 other special needs children and 2 staff. That was for Potter Elementary.
Yes, that was for that one. That wasn't for.
No, that wasn't for Kersley. Kersley refused to take him.
They wanted to take him.
They don't have a special education department.
They didn't have the staff. They wanted him to be there.
I understand. That's what I'm saying. But they don't. Why does a school district have the ability of saying that I don't have a special education department? I pay taxes for schooling. All of these guys in here pay taxes for schooling, and both of these guys don't have children. Neither one of them. But they both pay schooling tax. Why is that? Why should they have to pay for my kids to go to school? No answer there, huh? Wasn't expecting that.
No, I've asked.
Why should people? This is no different than the insurance. This is no different than the insurance argument with the state right now about why should someone that drives 10,000 miles a year have to pay the same road tax and gas tax as someone that doesn't drive any miles a year or that doesn't use any part? Why should they have to pay for that? If you don't own a car and you don't drive on the roads, why should I have to pay road fund tax? Why should I have to pay for an insurance tax? That's not right. You're having people pay for things that they have nothing to do. See, rabbit holes. Yeah. Rabbit holes. So with that, we did kind of get off topic. So with that, we're gonna close this out, and then next week, Friday, we're gonna put something else together. I'm Steve Brewer. This is my wife, MacKenzie Brewer. Talk to you guys soon.